Hi there, and welcome to episode 40 of the ADHD Adults podcast. I'm the grumpiest pretend professor alive, Professor James Brown. And as usual, I'm joined by fisheye lens-headed, medieval-obsessed Dr. Alex Connor. Hi, Alex.
Aloha.
I mean, it's relevant. I get that it's relevant, but is that the best you can do? That hello barely registers on my Connor's scale of annoyance, which I made up. And it feels like you've kind of started to exhaust your hellos a bit.
Don't think so.
Okay.
Aloha.
Aloha, Alex. That always makes me think of that Disney film. I can't remember the name of it now. Lilo and Stitch. Anyway, he says, knowing that he's going to get annoyed, how are you, Al?
Oh, really well, thanks, James. Yeah, good. Having a very nice time on holiday. If you're watching YouTube, I'm on holiday. It's not real. The numbers are still rising. For listeners, stupidly, what is wrong with people? Professor Brown, this thing, it isn't good.
Objectively.
I have, however, been sent a letter.
If you could do this as quick as possible, because by my estimation, we probably lose listeners at this point.
No, I mean, this one's a lovely letter. It's from it's for Robert from Kidderminster, James. It says, I listened to your exercise episode. How come James claims never to do exercise when he has a weekly Quidditch game on the Oldbury Rec? I don't know, Robert. Perhaps he's ashamed of it. Who knows? I have got a real message, James, from Parul. I checked. That was allowed to, amazingly.
Well done.
And even better, Parul wrote me a second message that to read out, but I can't because some of it genuinely would send me to prison. But I want to read the first one because it's okay. Lovely. It says, hi, Alex, just me. I was diagnosed with ADHD last year. I've been on a bit of a mission to learn more about myself and also to embrace my differences. Some ADHD podcasts are just shite. Despite being about ADHD, they're so dragged out and long. I've been absolutely smashing through your podcast episodes and I've loved every single one. And I'm sharing with every ADHD I know and also friends and colleagues who want to learn more. I love that you're just so honest and sweary and it makes it incredibly pleasant to power through episodes back to back. Thanks for all the fab work you do. And then at the end of the second message, I definitely can't read out. They wrote, you both balance being light-hearted, funny, sweary, and informative perfectly. I've listened to a lot of episodes, but still can't work out if you love or hate each other. Love each other. Definitely. Thank you. Definitely. We really appreciate it. It was lovely. We read all the messages.
Well, no. You read the messages that have Alex at the start or give you credit, don't you? I read all the messages and share them with you, and then you handpick the ones that make you look good or mention your name specifically.
For reading out, yeah, but I do read them.
Okay, that's fair enough then. That's all that matters then, obviously.
And you know what, James? They're coming from 115 different countries. That is the insane number. 115, James. Do you think you've ever counted that high?
So I normally count in multiples of 50. So technically, yes, I have. I should add that of those 115, 16 of them have had one listen. So is there 16 16 countries where someone's probably turned off within the first 5 minutes?
Very wise. We are still, of course, both confused and grateful, hugely grateful to all of these listeners, all of you. This week, we'd like to say a happy Yassas to our poor listener in Greece. Greece is a country with incredibly rich history where many of our words come from, James. That's what Greece is.
I'm not that thick, Alex.
You are.
I've been to bits of Greece, not the cultural bits, obviously, but I've been to bits of Greece. So I can say ne and ochi and I've forgotten all the rest. But I can say a few words in Greek. And not the English ones which have come from Greek, but I can say a handful of Greek ones. Okay. So as usual, this wank sock of a podcast is a tragedy in 3 parts. We choose the theme. Last week we talked about ADHD coaching. I'm probably assuming at this point in time we probably pissed a few people off with that episode, Al, but still. This week we're focusing on something that's very much on people's minds at this time of year and very much on mine because I've just been on holiday, and that's going on holiday when you have ADHD. And believe me, having been on holiday or at least been abroad twice, it's a fucking minefield.
I wanted to go holiday episode, like it's a special. But I'm pretty sure, James, you just said minefield. Did you?
It's possible
Minefield.
it's possible that I said that. Anyway, so the 3 parts include some evidence-based psychoeducation about the elements of ADHD that make going on holiday difficult, delivered by our resident psychoeducation monkey. Our personal reflections on going on holiday, and then the third and final bit, where there may be somewhere amongst a collection of useless dross, 1 or 2 tips that might help you when it comes to going on holiday with ADHD. So, monkey man, get your bore on.
Thanks, James. I will bore like I've never bored before. So think for a second about everything we know about what ADHD is. That's a pretty big list, right? From issues with planning, attention to detail, issues with hyperactivity, impulsivity, working memory, super short-term anxiety. Many of us have social anxiety as well. Increased insurance, medications, some of which you cannot take into other countries. It's almost like holidays were specifically not designed for people with ADHD, added to that long stretches of time without a plan of what to do. So the ones I've just said, let's have a look individually. Firstly, planning. Now, unless you've got a patient and organised partner, significant other, planning a holiday is a pretty huge barrier. Where to go to, when to go, if you're travelling abroad, what paperwork is needed. This is asking for trouble. For many people, these issues are such a barrier that they have to do pre-planned holidays, package holidays, all-inclusive cruises. This is a must. Basically, all you have to do is turn up, trying to remember your passport at the right time. That's all. The word basically doing a lot of heavy lifting in that sentence. But even after those, what else do you pack?
So we've actually tried to help this. If you go to our website at adhdadult.uk, you'll see that in the resources section, we've prepared a holiday packing list. Now, I've printed this off and given this to Mrs. ADHD, and yet the last time we went to Ibiza, she took 3 ball gowns and no bikinis.
That's not a mistake you would ever make, is it, James?
No, it's not.
You wear bikinis. That's what I was doing.
I shouldn't have answered halfway through that, actually. I should have just let the joke die, but I added to it, you absolute bastard. Anyway,
jokes.
Carry on. Yes.
The third thing on our list is attention to detail. It is so easy to put, say, the wrong passport in your bag. James, you specifically added this on purpose. James wrote that bit, everybody. The wrong passport thing. He changed it because...
Just before we get into that, the third thing on our list.
Yeah,
it's the
attention to detail.
It's the second. Oh, I love it. It's the second.
I did a joke with a punchline, an actual joke.
Amazing, yes. But please get back to passports, Alex, because attention to detail with passports is important, isn't it?
It is. So I once, James likes this story. I once got to Dover at the ferry terminal, got my passport out, but I'd already checked that it had my name in, but it was my name as the emergency contact on somebody else's passport. Get these details wrong in the holiday is a disaster. Oh, that's all right.
I know that happens. That kind of shit happens to us all the time. Mrs. ADHD once booked flights, I think I've said this before, in the wrong order. So from the destination to the UK, and then a week later from the UK to the destination. Now, we were drunk, to be fair, but that's not just happened once. That's happened more than once.
I've done that twice.
Amazing.
Okay, so the third thing on our list is hyperactivity. That's a callback joke, what I'm doing. Most holidays are meant to be relaxing. Not really if you're hyperactive, not always. Have you tried lying down on a sun lounger all day with nothing to do? If you're not a big reader especially, that is torture for many, many people.
Yeah.
So even though you objectively need a rest, some of us have to do activities to stave off that domestic or international anxiety.
That's
okay.
A massive.
Come on. Yeah.
Sorry, that's a massive one for me. Mrs. ADHD loves sunbathing, loves being out in the sun. Actually gets a tan. I just go from grey to red and back to grey again.
From blue to red.
Yeah, and I genuinely tried, mate. I've genuinely tried. But after 5 minutes, my brain just says, do something else. You can't just lie here. Even with music on, obviously I can't read, so I can't read books. So that for me is a huge one.
I know. And your colouring pencils don't work well in the heat, do they?
Yeah, no, they don't. They run out quicker.
No, it's true. I love reading, read all the time, but if I have to just sit there and there's no end to it, I'd last 3 seconds. So, fourth thing, I've forgotten the numbering system. D, impulsive behaviour. Last minute trip to a destination you can't afford. Yes, please. 6 inflatable rubber rings for the pool when there's 4 of you. Yes, why not? Trying to control spending on any sort of budget when you are impulsive and an impulse spender. I mean, that isn't going to happen.
No.
Although, you don't impulse buy cheap sun cream 3 weeks before. Oh no, it's much better to forget and then spend 13 quid on a thimble of Piz Booin. Booin? I don't know how to pronounce that.
I believe it's Booin. Actually, that's one thing that I do is I tend to go to Aldi and buy about 16 bottles of their cheap but very good suntan lotion, and then realise I'm over the weight in my baggage and have to leave them all at home, where they sit in the cupboard and go off and get thrown away 6 months later. I know someone, I won't name her, who spent their last money on a pair of shoes they had to have, which were utterly unwearable. Food, no thanks. Shoes can't be worn. Absolutely.
Yes, please. All right. E, working memory. This is a big one. Think of the key things you require to travel, especially overseas travel here. Passports, wallet, phone, boarding passes, car hire documents and boring myself, insurance, hotel room keys, money. You're going to put something down somewhere and forget something else at some point. And then explaining to a Spanish hotel receptionist that you need a 4th hotel room key because you have ADHD is beyond most people's Spanish, I think.
Not my Spanish.
Your Spanish. Go on then, James.
Yeah.
Say that. I'm going to enjoy this.
I've lost my room key again. Can I have another one, por favor?
Oh, gracias. Muy bien. James, we've just lost both South America and Spain, haven't we?
If we ever had them, really.
That's 8 listeners. Fourth, anxiety, especially I would say social anxiety. Tourists, thousands of them. That was Michael Caine, James. Michael Caine.
It objectively was not Michael Caine, but carry on.
Thousands of them. It's a lot, all the tourists.
Yeah.
Let alone just regular anxiety about everything else we've already mentioned going wrong, which it will. It can make going on holiday with someone who has ADHD an absolute flipping joy.
Yeah, I imagine having spent a couple of days with you, that any holiday with you is about as much fun as making a toffee apple out of one's scrotum, Al.
Finishing off my list is insurance and medications. Wait, scrotum as the apple or the toffee? Oh, no, I don't care. What am I doing? I don't care. So, not all medical conditions will be covered by your insurer, and this can include ADHD, meaning you have a pre-existing condition which could invalidate insurance. But if you do tell your insurer, that can increase your premium. Check before you buy. I'm giving you admin. Nothing we like more, is there? You'll definitely will. Everyone will. We'll all check.
We all will. We'll all check.
Yeah, I'll check. Thanks. I'll put it on my list. I'll do a Pomodoro technique to make sure that happens, shall I? Medication. Stimulants are banned in Japan, for example, the UAE, Bali, Thailand. Don't assume your meds are allowed. And check that before you go. No, definitely do. You might, in the EU, in many places, need a doctor to sign a form, your doctor to sign a form for you. It's quite simple, but have it with you. And sometimes that's only for one prescription, your personal prescription, and 30 days worth. Different rules for different countries. Check the home country rules you're going to. And that's it, really. Bit of a long one, sorry. Holiday special.
Yeah, but it could have been longer, to be fair. And for once, and I will never, ever say this again. Well played, sir. Well played. And on that note, time for a break. We'll be back in part 2 for some very painful and embarrassing personal reflections. I
promised myself I wouldn't cry.
With ADHD. See you in a bit.
Welcome back to episode 40 of the ADHD Adults Podcast. 40 episodes, James.
Wow.
This is our holiday special for August. Very exciting. We are talking everything ADHD and holidays. This is part 2 where we always talk about our personal reflections. I really like this because I get a lot of texts from James on holiday who... I'm not going to use the word meltdown, but no, I am. That's the word. Absolute meltdown. James, come on. This is something I want to hear about more.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Every holiday, at least for the last 3 years, has been an absolute fucking disaster that's led to a mental health crisis and me struggling. So the first thing I'll say is people are really important. That the people that you're with are really important when you go on holiday.
Even if you like them, James.
Yes, if I like them.
So you've just come back from holiday with people you like, right? And it was good. And yet,
I know where
what did they say? What was a podcast quote? Was it something about the two Ronnies?
So I was sat with Mysterious Warren and Claire and Franny, good friends of mine, eating at Que Pasa, a restaurant in Caladaboo in Ibiza. Go if you get a chance. And I can't remember who it was, but one of them paid you a compliment and almost hinted that you were the funny one, which obviously I took great umbrage towards. And then Mysterious Warren said that I'm basically the Ronnie Corbett of this relationship.
Oh,
I know. The pain. So Alex and I have this kind of running joke that we're like a pound shop. The trip with Steve Coogan and Rob Brydon, and obviously Alex is Rob Brydon.
Steve Coogan.
So obviously Rob Brydon. So for me to be referred to as the Ronnie Corbett of this partnership, it hurt. It hurt viscerally. But I am digressing. Thanks to you fucker.
It's really good.
Yeah, I've just been to Ibiza for a kind of part holiday, part doing a bit of work, and just wow. Just the last few trips to Ibiza, which is where I tend to go. Everything you can imagine off that list that you read out happens to me. So getting the flights wrong or missing flights, almost every trip, just get used to it now. Passports. The last time we went to Ibiza in April, we left the villa, drove to the airport, and realised we'd left the passports at the villa, which was now locked, and we had to wait an hour for the cleaners to get in to get us the passport. We made our flight by a smidgen of time.
At least you remember to renew your passport, James, through the emergency renewal system after you'd already done it.
Yes, and paid £170 for them because they said it's not for the renewal, it's for the admin of telling you you've already fucking renewed it a year ago.
Brilliant.
Yeah, lost currency, lost cards, whether they are bank cards or hotel room cards. On this latest trip, I lost 4 hotel room cards, Alex, 4 of them. I found one in my bag when I got back, by the way. Nice. The inability to find the hotel that you're going to because you can't remember the name of it and then you can't find the paperwork. Taking the hire car back to the wrong place, which didn't go down well. Crashing my hire car because I was on my phone. So what
was your excess?
Well, no, I've learned to go full insurance. This is something that should come into top tips. If you get the chance, go full insurance because the last 2 trips I've just driven into a wall basically because I've been on my phone. Losing everything I need during the first day of a holiday, or thinking I have. So I took with me. I wear a look at me being posh. I wear an Apple Watch because it gives me notifications and it's useful. And I was staying with Mysterious Warren for 2 days, and immediately I was like, oh, I've lost the charger for my Apple Watch. So it ran out of power for the whole holiday. It was at home. I was convinced I'd packed it, and I was searching Mysterious Warren's house. Searching his house, wasn't there? It was at home. Where are we? Missed flights. Missed flights is interesting because there's a number of reasons we've missed them. One, because we've put it in the diary, and then obviously the times change when you go international, and we've just got the time wrong. Once because we were just enjoying the sun for a few minutes. We hadn't had much sleep. Lying on sun lounger, fell asleep, missed a flight. Once we got through security and were sat eating as they called our name, saying that we had to go to the gate, and we missed that flight. That costs a lot, having to get a new flight, often via a third country.
I once got on the wrong plane.
How do you even do? Oh, was this before?
Just let me through. This possibly what might be white male privilege. Just let me through. Different plane. Sat on a Czech Republic plane.
Oh my god! And you could take it. You got off, otherwise you had a nice holiday in the Czech Republic.
Yeah, I noticed their flag was wrong, so I was going to Denmark.
Missed events. So we had. There's a thing that all our friends, he says, all 6 of them, will often say that it's not an event unless we booked it and not gone. And we've spent thousands of pounds on booking things to go to on holiday and then just forgotten, or have had anxiety, so we've not gone, or someone's popped in to see us and then, oh, yeah, they're fun. Let's spend time with them instead of the £600 thing that we booked because you're having fun for 5 minutes. You alluded to, in very joyful, playful language, the massive mental health crises I have had every time I've been on holiday in the last 2 years, which I've even had a tattoo. So this is probably backwards and you can't see it for those on YouTube. I've had a tattoo on my arm that says, "It's not all about you," to try and remind me that even if I think, oh, I'm a bit upset, I'm not struggling with people, I'm ruining everyone else's time, they don't give a fuck. It's just me. But I'll sit there in my room, or when we booked a villa in April for a week, I left the villa for 4 hours in a week because I was in such a bad place, thinking I was ruining everybody else's time. They were having a fucking whale of a time, but I'm sat there, oh, I'm spoiling everyone's time. Yeah. I can't cope. And it's every time. And what happens is, it's like fucking rinse and repeat before the next trip. I forget, don't plan, go there, mental health crisis, massive waste of money, complete nightmare. Overspending. This last recent trip to Ibiza, I had lodgings for the first couple of nights with mysterious Warren. Didn't plan anything after that. So luckily, Mrs. ADHD came out for a couple of days and booked a hotel. And then when she left, I had nowhere to stay. So she was booking hotels for me on a daily basis. And I was then having to find these hotels, one of which didn't have parking. So I had to park in this underground thing for €50. So massive overspending because of lack of planning, lack of attention.
I still can't understand how you managed to snaggle Mrs. ADHD. It makes no sense to anyone. We get letters.
Two eyes, mate. I'm telling you, first man she saw with 2 eyes. Not being able to afford to go in the first place. It's we've got masses of debt, but still, it's more important to have a holiday than it is to eat, for example. Just a final thing. This isn't me. This is Mrs. ADHD, who grew up in a bit like you, I would say, an ADHD-friendly family. Let's put it that way. They once couldn't go on holiday because her mum put the passport somewhere safe, and then they weren't there the morning of the holiday, and they never found them. So they missed the entire holiday because the passports had been put somewhere safe, so they wouldn't get lost.
With your cup of tea, probably.
I was about to say exactly the same thing. Somewhere in a parallel universe, all the things that we never find are sat there laughing at us. So for me, why do I even fucking go? Because it always goes wrong. What about you?
I have literally said that to you the last 3 times.
Yeah, it's true, yeah. But I don't listen to you because you're a cock. Anyway, what about you, Alex? What are your personal reflections on going to...
It's a good one. I mean, I'm still digesting all of yours, really, James. The idea that you make everybody miserable. You do on the podcast, but you turn up week on week. I've done another joke.
But yeah, that was a good one. You need to raise your hand when you make a joke, so I can tell.
Sorry.
But obviously, I'm not around. It's just you, so I don't care if I annoy you. But when I'm around real people, that's when I tend to think I'm spoiling their time.
It's fair enough. I've got a love-hate thing with holidays, James. So it's a different experience to normal day, which I like, obviously, because it's different, isn't it? But for pretty much everything you've just said and all the reasons we've discussed, it's a massive ache in my toffee apple. That's a callback, isn't it? Another one. I can't just sit there. I love to read, but I can't sit on a lounge all day and read. I love the sea, but lying on the sand, that is a lot of sensations that are telling me that it's a sensation. Hypersensitive, itchy sand. There's one piece of sand on me. There's an insect on my face. There's other people within 10 meters, a cacophony of distractions. The idea of just sleeping there. Oh, I can't even sit in a pub unless I've got my back to the wall. I don't like it. And then having no plans at all for a day, make me very, very uncomfortable. I always, those holidays where like a jolly person in a red shirt makes you play water polo every half an hour. I was like, awful, no chance. And then I did one. Amazing. Like, non-compulsory, but loads of activities where I could win. Like, don't win anything, but it's gamified, and you can just there's no like real judgment or anything.
Yeah, I've
got little kids again now, so holidays I can't do. I'm not allowed to do that, so they've gone back to bloody difficult. During first lockdown, we booked a trip to Lanzarote, and then it was like the month after first lockdown, and it was cancelled.
Yeah,
and my main feeling was relief, and Lisa was good. I think she was pretty upset with me, because she was genuinely gutted, and I felt relief. It just felt like someone had taken a lot of admin away that I didn't have to feel guilty about. So, oh no, I've got to stay here and not have sand on my face. And that is grumpy, miserable man, because I do really like it. But yeah, there's a lot. It's a lot.
It does sound grumpy to dislike holidays. I'm going to share a quick story about beaches, because one of the reasons I snagged Mrs. ADHD is I obviously pretended to be somebody else for a very long time. And Mrs. ADHD grew up in a household and environment where you weren't ashamed of your body. I'm massively ashamed of my body. Yeah. So when I first met her, she would like to go to a nudist beach in Ibiza where she could get a full-on tan. And obviously, for the first couple of years, I kind of thought, I've got to go. So, and the whole nation is vomiting. I say the nation. All our listeners now vomiting into their ears to try and not hear this. But for the first couple of years, I would go tackle out to try and impress her. Until
like a polar bear had got loose.
Well, yeah. Well, actually, a lot of the people on the beach did look like that. Apart from the one guy who was staring at me intently while he oiled his gigantic penis. Which
I've apologised for that.
Remember, put your hand up when you make a joke.
Sorry,
but beaches are out, and it sounds really grumpy to say this, but I agree with most of that. Fab. The script says no time for the game today. Instead, Alex wants to compare notes on golden snitch strategies. That's, of course, bollocks. So I've got a quiz for you today. And as usual, for James, what's James lost, mislaid, or forgotten this week? This is quite a big one because it involves a gigantic magnetic rock off the coast of Ibiza called Esvedra. It's the most I think it's the most magnetic place in the world. Planes aren't allowed to fly over it. So you've got three options. It's very important. Sam loves this place. It's very spiritual. Mrs. ADHD, loves this place. So which of these three things did I do? Did I forget to take the picture when she was posing in front of it? That's option one. Did I get the island that it's on wrong, or that it's just off the coast of wrong? That's two. Or did I think it had moved? That's three.
Oh, that's a good one. Let me think about this. That's really, really difficult. I think that I'm going to combine it into one insult.
Yeah, do it.
That I think, because the other two are just about you not knowing something, but the one where you didn't take a picture is because you're not just ADHD, but you're a monster of a human being.
Yeah.
So I'm saying that one, you forgot to take a picture.
You're wrong.
Oh.
So just to compound this story a little bit, I was staying with Mysterious Warren for the first 2 nights of my recent holiday. He's such a generous host. And Mrs. ADHD messaged me saying, "Oh, are you next to Esvedra?" And I said, "I don't know. I'll ask Warren." So I asked him, and he went, "Just walk outside." Walked outside, and from his balcony, you can see this gigantic, big rock that's like 200 meters high or whatever, literally outside where I was. But the question about thinking it had moved, in the morning, I thought, well, I'm going to go and look at that rock. And I walked out and I looked. I thought, it must be cloudy. It's not there. And I was looking in the wrong direction. So he'd shown me where it was, this massive rock that towers over the area where he lives. And I walked out in the morning and genuinely thought it's either really cloudy or it's moved overnight. And he had to point and say, no, it's where I showed you yesterday. Amazing.
It's so easy to lose. It's almost like a lack of attention, but also sort of object invisibility, isn't it?
And to make it worse, there was a big picture in the room I was staying in of that rock. It's
like a luminous rock is here.
I just couldn't see any of it. So that means we've forgotten the score. I'm going to get it's Dave, my brother-in-law, who made it's his wedding, by the way, tomorrow. Dave made a score. I need to look into that. So congratulations, Dave, and I knew in advance. So I need to get the scores, but it's getting worse. I think you're down.
Just imagine I'm doing all right. Probably not.
About 40%. You're getting towards Jeopardy now, aren't you? You're getting towards being kicked off this quiz. Oh, maybe
it's such a shit game.
You've had people tell you it's good. Two people tell you it's good, which is on a good enough reason for us to take a break. We'll be back in the final part for some top tips. tips.
Holiday special. One.
Welcome. Alex, can you
Yeah.
please not fuck the podcast up more than usual? Welcome back to part 3 of episode 40 of the ADHD Adults podcast, where we're talking about holidays, the joy that is a holiday when you've got ADHD. And the final part is top tips. And even despite the fact that Alex has been stealing my top tips when I let him go first, I am still benevolently going to let you go first, Alex. So what's your just the tip for going on holiday?
Thanks, James. Write everything down.
See, you've done it. You've done it already. You've done it already.
I'm actually literally reading the thing James wrote because he put it on a Google Doc for me to write. I'm not reading. That isn't it, really. That was a joke.
Okay.
So
good.
I've got 2 tips, and the first one is 2 checklists. So the first tip is 2 checklists. The first one has everything I always need on it. So passports, phone chargers, adapters. And that gets forwarded every time I go away, so it's always the same. And the second one is bespoke for a specific trip with the dates, and so I can copy and paste the first one. Because I won't just rewrite it again. I won't write a list. There's no chance. Or I'll forget what I should write on the list, so it has to be the same. And I keep those lists online, very much like a Bill Gates would, James. I use many online programs. And the beauty is that many of them, you can add a little checkable boxes, so you can copy it and add checkable boxes when you've packed stuff. I love those little goofy bastards because you get joy out of pressing check. So this 2 checklists. The second tip is to put the main stuff. I'm going to pre-say this. I leave the house without my important bag all the time. I leave it on trains. I leave it at home. I put it by the front door, open the front door and step over the bastard. All the time. So if that's you, this is a tip for you. The second thing is to put the main stuff you absolutely need with the stuff that you literally need, James. James literally means really. So what I mean by that is that absolutely need your passport, your wallet and boarding passes to get to the place. They will be in the same bag as my house keys and car keys. So if I've locked up the house, I must have remembered my passport, assuming it's my bloody passport, obviously. So I keep the things I absolutely need with the stuff that I literally need. So if I'm driving, I'll put the car keys. I'll sometimes tie the car keys to the bag with my passports in. And I know I can't. It makes me sleep better. It doesn't stop me leaving that bag at Clackett Lane Services, though, James. What?
I love the wrapping the bag around your foot tip you shared.
Yeah, I mean, I do it every day. I've had so many people say they do it too. Have you?
Yeah.
I didn't realise. I felt really good.
Yeah, but they all ended the sentence with Alex is still a twat, though. Is that the end of your tips?
It's the very end of my double tips. 3 tips in a way, but 2.
Double tipper. Right,
what about yours?
Well, everyone's heard my first one because you fucking stole it. So write everything down from packing to where everything is. So on our website, we do have a printable, offable packing checklist. Now we printable offabled ours and I laminated it. So now I've got a reusable thing where I can tick, write the numbers, and therefore wipe it off for the next holiday. And it's got everything. It's got passport, medications. Now, when I first met Mrs. ADHD and we went on our first holiday, she ripped the piss out of me for writing a list of how many pairs of jeans, how many t-shirts, how many socks, how many pairs of pants. Absolutely ripped the piss. Even took a picture and shared it on Facebook saying, look at James. She didn't take any shorts, t-shirts or knickers on that holiday because she just threw stuff in a case. And she still rips the piss out of me for doing this. And as I said recently...
Because it's geeky.
It is, yeah. And recently took 3 ball gowns but no bikinis to a holiday resort. So write everything down. Use the resource we've got for you if you want to, or make your own. And then this is silly, but check, double check, and then check again. And if you get a chance, check again. Keep on checking. So when you've got those bags downstairs ready to go in the morning, just go through them and then go through them again and then go through them again and make sure you've got all those essentials.
Jace, can I do, in terms of checking, my son, who is obviously probably one of us, he checks by mentally putting the things on. So even to go to a sport game, like he plays hockey, he'll pretend to get dressed and see if it's in the bag, which is genius, really. I like it.
It's whatever works for you. I tend to actually, believe it or not, trust Mrs. ADHD, so she has all the documents, and I'll give her a credit. She's the fucking don at it. Not at booking flights, gets that wrong. But when it comes to looking after documents, she parents me. So she'll say, here's your passport and your boarding pass. Then when you get through the passport check, give me your passport back. And then she'll keep it. No, keep your boarding pass. Properly parents me.
I'm the one that does that in our group.
Yeah, to make sure I can get on the plane. Now, for the lying down, for the not being able to relax thing, most people have something that can occupy them or give them reward. It could be playing a game on your phone. It could be a travel game of Scrabble. I'm sure you love that, Alex. It could be a book. It could be some headphones for music. But try and take something that you know will occupy you enough so you can get some rest if you haven't got activities planned all the time. Remember I said check things, check them again. And importantly, get someone else to check them. Even if you're in a relationship where both people have ADHD, it's not like ADHD squared in that you'll remember twice as less. The chances are one of you might pick up that you've actually got the wrong passport. So just check, and check again. And those are my semi-useless tips.
Twice as less.
Twice as less, yes. Anyway, that brings us towards the end. We've just got the product recommendation of the week. Now, I haven't actually written the link down properly, but thanks for Nick for this shout out. Nick sent me, you could get a kettle which links to Alexa. So you can actually control it through your Wi-Fi and get it to boil and tell you that it's boiled. So for someone like me that clearly struggles making a cup of tea, it might be worth looking at. I'm sure it's not cheap, but, there you go. That was episode 40 of the ADHD Adult UK pod. It's the wrong name of the podcast at the end of the ADHD Adult podcast.
The ADHD Adults.
Yes, where we talked about ADHD and holidays. If you enjoyed this, which is very unlikely, why not support the show on the link? As otherwise, Alex is going to have to be a head model for artists who like painting round things because we're still skinned. If you've got any questions, get in touch on the socials at ADHD Adult UK. And maybe once Alex will read out a message that someone sends me or doesn't start with, "Hi, Alex." Till next time.
If we ever get one.
If we ever get one. Arsehole. Till next time. See you soon. If you do go on holiday, have a great time.
Aloha all.
That sounded disingenuous.
It was.
Okay.
Don't care. Don't have a good holiday. I'm not bothered. It might mean goodbye. Who knows?
See you all. Bye.
You can't add that in.
Trigger warning klaxon. Klaxon, 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 big klaxon. Trigger warning klaxon. Klaxon, klaxon, klaxon.